Hello viewers. So inflation is a topic I've spoken about in the past, well before the current crises have set in 2022. I'll put a link in the description below to an earlier video. But inflation is one of the most misunderstood topics in our public and media discourse. And I'd like to set the record straight. First of all, you see economies around the world, around the globe dealing with this issue, not just one of them. The U.S. economy has faced between 8–10% inflation this year. That's 30 to 40-year highs. The UK is reporting over 10%. And in the Federal Republic of Germany, it's hit above 10%, and it's hitting a 70-year record high, which means it's facing problems not seen since the Second World War in this regard. When you hear headlines like this, it doesn't seem like we're doing too bad here in Canada. Our inflation has peaked at only 6 to 7%, so we're actually doing relatively well in a bad situation. But here's the problem. People and average individuals, especially political right-wingers that blame the government and regulation for all problems, many of these people don't have a clue what inflation is or why capitalism requires it. Inflation is actually another word for growth in the money supply. If you have shrinkage and economic recession, that's the opposite of inflation. That's deflation. Let me put inflation into another term for you to understand. When you purchase a home that is $400,000 one year, and then some time passes, and you put that home back on the market, and you expect to sell that for $500,000 or $600,000, that's inflation that you like. You're for inflation, you just don't know it. In fact, homeowners love inflation, whether they realize it or not. It is what the real estate market is based on. It is when inflation hits consumer goods that people start to panic. Like when a worker making your burger needs to earn $20 an hour, therefore a burger goes from, I don't know, $2.50 to $3.50 for the product. That's when people start to freak out, start panicking. But my question to you is, why doesn't the person working hard at the restaurant deserve better pay? Not that the owner of the business is always going to pass the higher pay on to the worker. That depends on ownership, and we know most owners don't do that as well. But the point stands, we have a very convoluted sense of inflation. The big oil cartel has more than doubled the price of its product in the year 2022. That trickle effect has caused everything to go up for most people this year. Goods going to the grocery market, taking yourself to work or going shopping, etc., all of that has gone up because of big oil price gouging us. And governments around the world are too afraid to rein in the abuse and install a windfall profits tax to rein in that excess, bring it back to the public sphere. You add in business greed and the extra prices just to keep the owners rich, and that's what's causing our current price mess. But I come back to the main point of this. If you were blaming one person, for example, here in Canada, if you're blaming Trudeau for a global systemic failure of capitalism, or if you're in the US and you're a conservative right-wing activist blaming this problem and putting it at the feet of Joe Biden, someone who's only been in office for 1 year, 4 months as of May 2022, the making of this video, then you, my friend, are an idiot. I actually say that bluntly and directly, not to be offensive, because you don't know how to reasonably understand a problem. And this video is neither a defense of Biden, Trudeau, or other politicians. It is a video to show you, if you want to blame the government, if you want to blame the leaders that have no capacity to create this problem, then you, my friend, are also part of the problem. I don't know how to politely say it, but you are part of the problem if you believe that. You have to learn to resolve problems by understanding where the problems begin. And if you don't understand that capitalism requires inflation, and inflation is considered good when you sell your home at a higher price, just ask any realtor, it's their lifeblood, then you don't recognize the fundamental and systemic problems with our economic systems. This is a globalized mess, not tied to an individual politician. The only way we resolve these problems is with more public involvement, more government regulation. For example, interest rates need to go up to make sure mortgages aren't pushing housing prices too high. For example, public government action of installing windfall profits taxes to take back money from the private capitalist big oil cartel that's stolen from people this year with its price gouging. For example, government subsidizing providing transit rides for free or incredibly reduced rates so that people can get around without having to pay for ultra-high gas prices in urban areas where they mostly live. And if you're in a rural area, maybe you should consider moving to an urban environment. I don't know. But here's the thing. To all those conservative and right-wing activists out there who want to blame the government for problems, learn about inflation. Learn about the fact that it isn't programs like the CERB here in Canada or other benefits that have created this problem. CERB, the COVID benefit program here in Canada, had nothing to do with the fact that big oil has doubled its price of its product this year. Inflation is a problem, but we have to acknowledge the problem is systemic in capitalism if we are ever to resolve these problems. Inflation has been going on for decades. Housing, for example, faced extreme inflation for years. But now that it's hit the gas pumps and other consumer goods, we start freaking out all of a sudden. You should ask yourself, why is housing inflation good when a homeowner sells a home for hundreds of thousands more than they bought it for just a short time ago, yet it's bad when a worker makes a few extra dollars on the low end of the spectrum? What really is inflation? And when you really study these issues, you learn that the corporate owners are really stealing all the money, you will learn that the solutions aren't what most media discussions in the West focus on. You'll learn that conservatives and the political right, they're completely bankrupt. They have backwards solutions that only exacerbate, increase, heighten the problems of inflation. And they have downright kooky solutions, including some right-wingers that are pitching complete deregulation, creating a vacuum of lower government spending, cutting fuel taxes as if that's a solution. Some candidates, even for major political parties right here in Canada, Pierre Poilievre, pitching cryptocurrencies as solutions to inflation. That's insanity. That will do nothing to regulate and rein in abuses of the big oil cartel, which is private, not government. So when it comes to inflation, the public needs to learn capitalism is actually based on inflation and requires it for growth. And if you want to rein in high rates of inflation, it takes more regulations, it takes more public rules, it takes more oversight, all of that, etc., not less. And if you believe the snake oil being sold by right-wing activists and politicos, you are part of the problem. You are not the solution. Thank you for watching.